Row for Show Productions presents Brothers Being Brothers, a lifestyle podcast. Welcome to the Brothers Being Brothers podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Hamilton Jr. I got my guys, K-Rob and Mac Ronay with me. Say what's up to the people, fellas.
What's going on?
There you go.
You good, man. It's all good. That's what we do. We're having fun. Well, first off, before we start, we want to take this time out to say thank you to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving us the gifts, talents, and the resources to do this. I can't talk today, fellas. We all know the big thing that's been going on. Well, I'll just get right to it. We all know the big news of the day. The big news, really, I guess, going on in the world right now is the inauguration of Joe Biden as the 46th president of the United States of America. And I know for me, I ain't gonna get too deep, as far as this particular part of the pod goes. But for me, I mean, I'm happy. I mean, he's not gonna be perfect. Him and Kamala, they have their past. We know about that. They're not gonna be perfect, but bro, the last 4 years have been nonsense. And I mean, let's just putting it lightly. The last 4 years have been a bunch of bull jive. So, it was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They provide a lot of hope. They provide a lot of things for a lot of people across the world. But before I, go off on my little spiel, I want to get y'all's thoughts on the inauguration and the events from yesterday.
I'll go first. So I think it's dope for the first African American South Asian woman to be a vice president. I think it's hopeful as a African American man. It brings me hope for people of my descent to be able to be in positions that can hopefully transcend, from like kids to grandkids to great grandkids and so forth, that they can, have hope to be things they want to be, accomplish great things, and that, some of our families can have, wealthy lineages as well, powerful lineages, and not in a way to just seek power to like rule somebody, but power to like, be a transcending culture as well. And then, for Biden, I think he speaks, and recently he spoke with a sense of like a kindness spirit about him. What I would say to that is I just hope that he keeps that spirit up towards everyone, whether Republican, Democrat, middleman, whatever you want to be, like if whether you have a party or no party. I just hope that throughout the presidency that the sense of kindness he spoke with at the inauguration speech can be trickled down to everybody else. Like I said in the first episode, that go check those episodes out. They were really good. My guys are really dope. But like in the first episode, I said, when it starts at the top, it trickles down. So if you got a guy who's a certain kind of way,
Right.
Most of the time in general, things can trickle from the head down. It don't mean you won't have, a certain kind of person here and there within the system, but 9 times out of 10, people can plot to the head if they're willing to be a part,
Right.
To a certain degree. So I just hope that this new regime can help more than it hurt, and I know some people were excited about the tax cuts and this, that, and the third from the previous presidency. And, to each his own, whatever worked for you is cool. But I think the only part that I think was the most frowned upon is the rhetoric of the behavior that was carried on. You know what I'm saying? That can't be tolerated for anybody, black, white, Hebrew, Jew, Asian, Latino, whatever. Like, I just think the rhetoric of violence and racism is, it can't be tolerated. And if we can keep that out of the White House and in our Senate, Congress, and all of that, hopefully it can start to trickle down, as I say, hopefulness, but with the sense of reality. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well said, man. Well said. What about you, Drew?
Well, I mean, definitely, I agree with King. It does sound like Biden speaks from compassion.
Oh, good
You know,
word. Good word.
every speech I've heard him, he speaks from compassion, and he's preaching unity. So hopefully that does transpire to the whole presidency. So I do agree with King on that. Now, as far as inauguration itself, it from the performances all the way to Amanda Gorman,
Yeah,
the poet, you know, 22-year-old woman who had speech impediment is now giving a, a poem that the world needs at this time at the inauguration.
yeah,
I don't hear like a lot of publicity going to her, but that was amazing,
yeah,
and just in my opinion, what she was saying as far as everything that was going on. Like she basically just took everything and put it that was happening right now and just put it into a poem. And I think that's what we really needed to hear. And I think that was awesome. Even all the performances, J Lo, she killed. Well, she tried to kill it. She tried to kill it. Bless her heart. Uh,
yeah.
Lady Gaga killed it. You know what I
Lady
mean? Garth
Gaga, man,
Brooks.
she was amazing. Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Hey, did y'all? Let me get on let me get on my goofy for a little bit.
Okay.
Y'all notice how everybody had to stop and say what's up to Michelle and Barack.
Yo,
Yeah.
yo,
Everybody,
Yeah.
bro.
yo, listen,
Yes.
listen. I'm a
That's
married
that's
man.
that's
I'm a
authority.
married man, but Barack was fresh and Michelle looked like straight
Dog.
up money.
She did,
You know,
man.
yeah,
Michelle
I'm not
was
Googling eyes over her, but the whole
like,
maroon thing,
yeah.
don't be shocked. Shout out to my cousin Crystal. I seen her say that maroon is the color for 2021, and she
Maroon.
said it first. And
Okay.
I'm gonna give her props. Crystal
Yeah.
Driver, she said it.
Yeah.
She was like, maroon is the color 2021 because Michelle definitely wore
Bro,
that.
she was rocking that maroon and that hair. Like, dog, I'm not like a real big like guy that, pays like super close attention to a woman's hair. But dog, her hair was just, it was immaculate. I mean, I don't care what anybody
Yeah, I
says.
mean you can't
Yeah, and
help
I
but
ain't
to
get
pay attention.
right,
I
and I ain't
love
getting too far off the topic, but I don't care what anybody says, bro. Like Michelle Obama is the baddest um first lady we've ever had in American history. I say it. It's on the record. I don't care what other people say. I don't care what history says.
class,
Michelle Obama is the baddest first
class
lady in
personified,
America.
man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Provide, yeah, but keep keep going, Drew.
No,
Go
but it was just it was just funny to see like even Garth Brooks, he's shaking hands, he walking out, he dead stop and
Yeah,
looked over to the right to Michelle and Barack and he beeline to him, definitely had to say what's up. It was just crazy how everybody was saying what's up to Michelle and Barack. Like that's everyone, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um oh and two, what's this deal about these Christian Dior Jordans? Y'all hear about that?
I saw a picture or a meme of them, but I didn't hear much about it. I mean, from the pic, they looked expensive, but
Well,
Well, they've
they
been
are
apparently they
out.
cost like 2 G's or something
Well,
like that.
yeah, I'm
two, it's like 20.
as a sneakerhead, as
Yeah,
a
this is our
sneakerhead.
resident sneakerhead right here,
Oh,
King.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't let it get in the way of my saving. That's another topic for another day. But as a sneakerhead who's really into shoes, whether I buy them or not, no, they did retail at like I think at 2200,
Yeah.
22.95, something like that. Yeah, the Dior. I mean, it's Dior.
Retail, but
Dior one. They retailed at that, but they resell
there you go.
at about anywhere 20 to 30 grand.
Yep.
Ain't
Depending
no
on
way.
how
Yep.
how much you wanted them. But yeah, it was like one of the most popular drops of 2020.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, it wouldn't be me. You said that's about 22.95 or 22,000, whatever. Either way, that's about 22,000 more than what I got. So you know what I'm saying. But yeah, my bad, man. We keep getting sidetracked. Keep going, Drew. Keep
La-
going,
uh,
Drew.
We're not getting sidetracked. We right where we need to be. but but no, that's about it, man. I just I enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed Biden and his, and like I said, how he speaks with compassion. I think it was a positive message and what everyone needed to hear as far as unity, because we that's definitely what we need right now is unity. We're a country so divided, and we're still divided.
Yeah.
It's still division in there, and it's going to be divided for a while until people sit down and really talk
Mhm.
about issues and really look at themselves in the mirror. That's the only way we're going to come undivided and we can come together. Um, the performances were pretty cool, and and again, I can't stop praising Amanda Gorman for that poem.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my take on it.
Man, my take on it is a lot like y'all's, man. I mean, I liked what I saw yesterday, both from President Biden's speech, as well as the inauguration itself. Um, the thing that the thing that I really liked the most was I liked the fact that he spoke with, like you said, Drew, he spoke with compassion. He spoke to every American citizen, man, woman, child, in between, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Latino, whatever. He spoke to every American citizen. And his main message was unity. And like you said, Drew, that's really the message that we as a country we need right now, because we are divided. And the last 4 years, the previous administration, they did nothing but try to divide this country. It was always black versus white, Democrat versus Republican. It was always, American citizen versus illegal citizen. We saw them, rip literally families apart.
Yeah.
They're separating kids from parents. And to this day, some of these kids can't even find their parents and vice versa. So, from the events and the things that we were subjected to over the last 4 years, it was a great breath of fresh air. And, I know King brought up something yesterday that really stood out to me from his speech. And it said he wants to treat everybody equally. He wants to be a president for all citizens, or
Right.
he wants to be a president for the country. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. But the thing about it is, what I took from that is, he speaks with compassion and it's authentic. But the thing is, I want to see him actually go out and do it. And I believe he can. I believe he will. But I just want to actually see him do it. And, I was watching CNN. Was it CNN or MSNBC? One of them earlier. And I don't know if y'all saw it, but his press conference about how they plan to get COVID under control. Um, the breath of fresh air for me was the fact that they were very transparent with what's going on with this virus. Whereas the previous administration, it was, oh, it's just a hoax. It's not going to be that bad. They tried to brush all this stuff up under the covers. Whereas the Biden administration came out and said, look, this virus is worse than what we thought, because, we have not been given the proper information from the previous administration. So we're just letting y'all know up front that we're behind the eight ball here. And these are the steps that we got to take to really start to get a handle on this virus. And he even went so far as to say that, look, despite all of the mandates and things that I put in place, the executive orders, the protocols and everything that I put in place, this is going to get worse before it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, even watching the White House press secretary that's taken over, I can't remember her name, but she's a young lady with red hair, very well spoken, very transparent, so, for me all around, this is what an administration, a presidential administration should look and sound like. And, as far as Kamala, like I love seeing an African American, Indian American. I love seeing a minority in this office. And the thing that really stood out to me when I saw Kamala Harris being sworn in yesterday by Judge Sotomayor, like that to me was like, okay, wow, this is not only are these two minorities representing, minorities in this country, these are two minority women,
Women.
in two
Yep.
of the highest
Yeah.
offices in the land. So that lets, the little black girls and even little black boys and little Hispanic boys and girls and little Asian boys and girls and, little minorities of all nationalities, lets them know what is possible in this country. And so to me, it was really good to see America represented in all its form, different cultures, different backgrounds, different walks of life. Because at the end of the day, we all come from different walks of life. We all have different experiences, but we all live in this country. And the only way this country is going to move forward is if we all put our differences aside and decide to move forward. That's the only
Right.
way we're going to get this done. Um, So, from that standpoint, it was refreshing, and I love to see it. Now I just want to see all of these speeches, all of the pomp and all of the circumstance. Now I just want to see all of that be put into motion. You know, unity is preached every 4 years at these inaugurations. It's preached by
Right.
every president. Now I want to see it actually be done. And also now another form of unity is going back to what happened 2 weeks ago, even when we started this podcast. I want to see the people that was responsible for these riots on the Capitol and responsible for spreading so much misinformation about this election. I want to see these people held accountable, because there cannot be unity without accountability. You know,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
that's one aspect of us becoming united as a country, is holding these offenders responsible.
But so I'm sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
you good. I was
on
done. You
on the
good.
flip side of that, so I watched both news outlets, and I
Hmm.
watch Fox News,
Oh
and that's
Lord.
mostly, yeah, exactly. So I'm watching them, and and everyone is saying, well, how can they ask for unity, but yet they still want to go forward with the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Right.
So my thing is, okay, and that's what everyone over and on that side is yelling. How are we reaching unity, and you guys want to go forward with impeaching President Trump? And then I'm like, so y'all's vision of unity is sending a message that you can do whatever you want. There's no responsibility, and there's no what, King? There's
Accountability.
no accountability. You
Sir,
know what I'm
there it
saying?
is.
So
Right.
that's y'all's vision of unity. We'll
Hmm.
never have unity. So that means no one has to be accountable for anything they say or do.
Right.
That's what they want for it to
Right.
be unity, because that's what they're saying. Well, leave Donald Trump alone. Don't go forward with the impeachment, because that's not good for unity. So then what? So no one should be accountable for what they say or do. It's just it's
Yeah,
frustrating, man.
yeah. To piggyback on that, I agree because at at the plight of people murmuring, complaining, the one complaint you're going to hear is, "Well, he did it. Well, she
Mm.
did it." And I mean, it's because let's be honest, man. I think people thrive at the fact that I can do things and get away with it. And if they seen somebody else get away with it, then they're thinking that they're afforded that same privilege
Yeah.
or
Hmm.
accommodation to whatever degree. So at some point, man, you definitely have to make an example when somebody puts themselves in a position to be an example. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Because we're all laid down the law. We all know the laws of the land. Don't kill, don't steal, don't or the commandments. The commandments are the first laws. If we want to
Hmm.
start with, some real understanding, let's just start with the 10 commandments. Those are pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And 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 so at the end of the day, I agree, man. Like if that needs to happen to send a message to be like, you know what? No matter who was in the regime, who was in the administration, whatever, these people need to be responsible. Because if I killed somebody 20 years ago and they find out now, I am going to jail
Facts.
now.
Facts.
So yeah, if you do something, yeah, expect some kind of punishment to come with it if the offense you commit is a punishable offense to that degree of
Right.
jail or some kind of things being taken away from
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Because at the end of the day, if nothing else, the impeachment needs to happen to show people in the future that, look, this is what can and will happen if you step outside the
Yep.
boundaries of the law. This is what can and will happen if you try to basically dethrone our democracy. I
Yeah,
mean,
red,
this,
white, blue,
yeah,
left, whichever, which what, with
hmm,
red or blue, left or right, in
exactly,
between, on the left,
exactly,
in the middle left, right,
right,
left, whatever you want to do. It's like anybody, nobody, is has that liberty to just do whatever.
right. Nobody's above the law, and that's one thing
Exactly.
that America likes to say when it comes down to the legal system. Nobody's above the law. Well,
Yeah.
now is the time to prove it. I mean, if America is really quote unquote about that life, now is the time to prove that nobody is truly above the law. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the United States government across multiple aspects as time moves on. And keeping with the spirit of unity, fellas, we also celebrated MLK Day this week. And Martin Luther King Jr. is probably, outside of like Jesus himself, he's probably like the best symbol of unity when you really kind of think about it. Because, I mean, Martin Luther King Jr. was arguably, some people, you could probably make a case that he was, one of the best leaders that this world has ever seen. We already know that, in a lot of people's minds, he was the best leader the United States has ever seen. But the worldwide impact that he made, you could make a case that he's one of the best leaders that this earth has ever seen. So, I guess for this particular segment, kind of want us to talk about, some of the ways that Martin Luther King Jr., changed the world. I want to get your thoughts on, his vision in the world today, kind of how he helped shape today's world. And then I have some kind of thoughts on people who were posting his quotes, but weren't really, they don't live that life. Let me put it like that. They don't live that life. So yeah, I guess for me, the way he changed the world, he really kind of taught us, I ain't gonna say taught us, because even in the Bible, it tells us not to judge people. Really, in so many words, it tells us not to judge people by race, creed, and everything else, because the Bible does talk about racism and prejudice and everything else. But he opened up the world's eyes to judge a man by the color of his character and not his skin color. He taught us basically what it is, what it means to judge a person for who they are. Judge a person by their actions. Judge a person by the way they treat people. Judge a person by the way they walk, by the way they talk. The content of their character. Don't judge them, because at the end of the day, there's good black people, there's bad black people, there's good white people, there's bad white people. There's good people in every race, creed, nationality, origin, whatever. There's good and bad people in every last one of them. It's not the skin color that makes them bad. It's the content of their character that makes them good or bad. He taught us to differentiate between that. Now, a lot of us don't do it, but he definitely taught us what it means to truly judge a person for their character. So that's my 2 cents on that. I want to hear from y'all.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
Okay.
Matt Pronate, my bad.
Hey, either way, yeah, I know who you talk about. I'm gonna go a little different way with it as far as MLK Day. It being MLK Day itself, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, man. I think it became a bit of a novelty a few years, kind of like Christmas. You got these kids, they're getting presents, but you ask them, why are you getting presents? What are we celebrating Christmas for? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It came a bit of a novelty. Only, and I say that, I know you guys are like, what is this guy talking about? But only because of what's been going on, in the last 4 years, even before that, as far as people getting killed, as far as injustice and everything. It's like the more injustice kept happening, the more like the message kept getting pushed back. But now, with the Black Lives Movement and with this new resurrection of the worth of Black people or in all minorities, I think it's important now, and I think that it has, for me, I'm talking for me, is it has new life, because what Martin Luther King was saying and what he was doing, it resonates right now for what we're doing, what's going on right now. Like you said, judging someone by the content of their character and not by the skin. Not being segregated, little colored kids playing with Caucasian kids, and not even thinking about it. All that, what he's saying, it's so important now with like I said, the Black Lives Movement, and just the whole temperature of the US right now, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so for me, I guess I'm saying, for me, I forgot, what I mean, I guess I kind of forgot the values of the MLK Day itself until recently, basically what I'm saying. Because your boy was looking at it like, oh, that's a day off. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
A lot of people do,
Words
man.
right
I
out of
mean,
my mouth.
a lot of people
You
do,
know what I
man.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
but yeah, so I think now it's super important. Even this man is gone, but his words are resonating today more than ever.
yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
For me, I definitely take off right where you left. Um, yeah, I think it was a way for people to create a holiday for some people to be like, I'm off, it's barbecue. And, it's more about being off and barbecuing than it is really celebrating them. And then, some people started kind of getting mad that certain jobs wasn't making it a holiday. And then I feel like that could have became a novelty to people to say, look at me. I now let them get off on MLK Day. We
Mm,
equality, baby, and
Yeah.
it's like that's cute,
Uh,
but
yeah,
you know, some form of fashion, it could be a good publicity stunt in whatever manner, or it could honestly be from heartfelt. We just don't really know sometimes because
right.
if you had to be pushed to do it, then it's like, did you really want to do it, or did you do it because you was like, you know what? I'm feeling real pressed upon my heart to like do this because I want to honor this person. And
right.
then, for me, he was assassinated in '68, so in April of '68. So, in a couple months it would be exactly 53 years. And we're low key, kind of high key, kind of still fighting the same fight. It's just in a different manner. Now, I'm not going to like act like change has not happened, but because us being in our mid 30s, we've seen some things from the 80s up into, the 2020s,
Hmm.
and things have progressed, man. And I'm grateful, man, because I'm definitely a black man who can say that I've been in some rooms and some stages that are pretty cool because of just the ability to, make my way as a black man in an industry that could be driven by whoever. And my color, my skin, may have not held me back as much as it could have 53 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, yeah, I'm definitely have a lot of love and respect for him. I mean, his last name is my first name. How can I not like the man? I mean, he's a
Right,
junior, I'm a junior. King
right.
Jr., Martin Luther King Jr. Man, this thing works out really good. But also, like going back to it, he's an African American man doing things from a non-violent standpoint, man. He was known
That's a
as
good
the
point.
non-violent protester, the
Right.
non-violent preacher. And not saying that preachers are violent, but for him to be a preacher and an activist, civil rights activist in the same light, sometimes those roles can get a little, it can get a little cloudy because
Hmm.
sometimes activists may act in a manner that people feel like a preacher may not. And some people may feel like, well, being a preacher and an activist is an agenda
Right.
because it could be a money thing or it could be a people following thing that could turn into a money thing. I mean, we could go down the rabbit hole with that, at least coming from that standpoint. But I'm just encouraged that we can actually continue to change. I know what reality says, but my hopefulness says that thanks for him 53 years ago, this happened. So, I plan to live another 53 years. I'm kind of healthy. I'd like to see things be absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
another 53 years from now. Your boy's in his almost about to be 90 and be like, man, you know what? I remember when I was doing a podcast in 2021 with Rochelle and Drew, aka Macronay, and here we are, 53 years later. We talked about that, and 100 years ago it was like this, and now 106 years later it's this. So, man, having faith and just continuing. And I want to read this quote that I found, and
Yeah.
I haven't even heard this quote recited as much as some of the other ones.
Mhm.
But like this one says, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And I thought that was like really dope because I went and looked up like Martin Luther King and seeing all the quotes. And of course, everybody knows that I have a dream speech. But like, man, when I seen that one, I was like, people don't, recite that one as much as some of the other ones, like the whole, the love one and, doing things from a spirit of hate rather than love. But I was like, man, so like our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And so like, man, I'm appreciative for this platform to not be silent about things that are impressed upon our heart, whether it's, from lifestyle to business to anything. Like if it matters, let's not be silent. And
It
so
needs to be
like
spoke about.
I kind of want to take that motto with me, as a low-key 2021 motto to not be silent about things that matter, even if it's something minute, you know. And so I got a lot of love and respect for Martin Luther King Jr. and all that he did, not knowing that he would even help me. He don't even know who I am. And what he did helped me, everybody else, my family, my grandfather that's passed and all of the people before him he helped all of these people, and not necessarily all, but his steps help create change in a certain way or bring about tough conversation that has brought about a change in our life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And to piggyback off of something you said, one of the things that amazes me the most about Martin Luther King was the fact that his message was so consistent in spite of, getting sprayed with fire hoses, in spite of being called the N-word, in spite of all the hate, the death threats, and everything else that came his way. His message was so consistent, nonviolent, and I know there was many times, I'm sure as him being a human being, there was many times he wanted to give up. But this man, in spite of going through some of the absolute worst things that a person could go through, he stayed consistent to his message. And consistency is hard for human beings because consistency itself, I mean, it's hard just to stay on the same track in and of itself of anything, whatever you're talking about in life. But when you have that amount of adversity, that kind of adversity coming at you, it's hard not to give up. So, King, you all right? Oh, okay. Okay. So, for me, that was the most amazing thing to me about Martin Luther King. And, King, like you said, when we sit back and we look at, even the job that I have now, I mean, you could, in some way, you could attribute that to Dr. King opening that door, because it is 10 times easier for us as Black men to apply for a job and interview for the job and get the job than it was 53 years ago. And in a lot of cases, it's still very hard for minority men and women to get looked at for jobs. Now, we've talked about that a little bit. But even with the challenges that we face now, even though in a lot of ways we're still fighting these same battles, when you look at it across the board, we're afforded so many more opportunities because of the stand that he took, because of the battles that he chose to fight. And ultimately, it ended up costing him his life. But he literally gave his life to help out millions of other people. So that to me is the most amazing thing about Dr. King, because I know full well for me, with the amount of adversity that he faced and people fighting him and spraying him down with water hoses, I probably, there's no problem, I would have just gave up. Or I would have maybe just took the Malcolm X route and just said, man, look, this nonviolence, it's not working. We're gonna have to step our game up. And
I'm
oh,
sorry.
go ahead, Drew.
No.
No, you good. Go ahead.
And that's my question too, man. And I mean, just as far as he preaches nonviolence and he preaches turn the other cheek, and with him preaching that, which I mean, for that moment, I mean, I understand what he was saying and what he was doing, but does that not set the tone for the Black people to always be the ones that have to turn the cheek? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good question.
Good question.
Is that
That's
what
a
set the
very good
tone
question.
for okay, so this man over here, not my race or whatever, but he comes to assault me, but my tone is, oh, I'm not gonna do anything back, I'm gonna turn the other cheek. You know what I mean? Is that not setting the tone for, okay, well, this guy, he knows I'm not gonna do anything, so he's gonna do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So you're kind of saying like setting the tone to be somewhat of a pushover, huh?
Well, not necessarily a push. Well, yeah, I guess I don't know how to, say
Well,
it
yeah,
ain't no
I
PC
mean,
way to say it, but
yeah. Well, the only thing I can say to that is, and this is a little bit of a little God factor in my mind, and I have to preach this to myself sometimes too.
okay.
is, you know, for some people you reap what you sow. For some people it's karma. Whatever works for you, whether it's karma or a cousin or whoever, or if you're going to go to biblical scripture and say you reap what you sow, you know, and then you know to tag with that, you'll be like, well, you know, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. So yeah, we're supposed to turn the other cheek and let God fight the battle. And the thing that I've learned is if God does something to somebody for their actions, he don't have to answer to nobody if you believe in God to that magnitude. And that, as a faith person, that has been something that I have to really tussle back and forth, because as a human, like emotionally, like I'm like, that's that, you know, I'm small in stature, but you can catch these hands.
You get them
Right. Let's step
paws, yeah.
outside. Let's
My
step
dad,
outside.
my dad is a pretty firecracker, and I appreciate all the he gave me, because you know I'm definitely that same guy. But you know the thing I have to think about is if, you know, if you slap me, you know, and I don't slap you, and you leave there and have a wreck that costs you your legs because you slapped me, that's between you and God, and he have to be like, well, you slapped my son, so boom, you know, handicap you are. But I'm not, and that's a little far fetched, but I'm using that to make an example, because sometimes that's really the only thing that we got to stand on.
But what is the odds of that happening?
Well, we don't. That's man, dude. We about to go down
That's
a
faith.
whole
Okay,
different
I'm
road.
sorry. I
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
we
It's
apologize.
we
good.
good.
It's
I
good.
apologize.
Well, the
No, you
odds of
good,
it
man.
happening may not be that, but sometimes doing things, I feel like this. Whatever you do to somebody, you don't get to determine how it's handed back to you. So
Right.
sometimes whatever you do to somebody, it can come back to you in a way that really can hit you in a manner that you don't see coming. And sometimes it don't necessarily come like that, even though I used a very abrupt
No,
example. But man, it may come to you in the form of like, man, you just, oh man, I was about to get this life-changing job
right.
Mm.
that would have set me for the rest of my life, man. I have never made, you know, six figures past 100,000, 100 grand a year, and here I am. I'm about to get a seven-figure job, and I'm about to be a CFO of this big company, and boop, it may never happen. Boop, it may take another 25 years, and you'd be like, well, should I retire? Or you know what I'm saying? So I feel like sometimes you have to be careful of things you do, and then at the end of the day, we may see some people be powerful with all of their wrongness. I mean, and die and bust hell wide open. But that's a faith thing, and see,
No, I
and then
get
we're
you.
tapping into
I get
something
you.
else. But I'm just speaking for you saying being what can look like a pushover. That at least that's what works for me. And I'm not trying to convert anybody or make anybody believe what I believe, but that's kind of what I got to ride on, because I'm like, well, man, if I believe in God, I'd be like, well, you know what? I did the right thing. Can you bless my endeavors? And I'm not speaking ill on them. Man, I hope they feel it, because
Right.
I could have retaliated, but I didn't, you know, and that's just being honest. So that's
No,
my point to it.
I get you, and what you saying makes sense. That makes 100% sense. I guess it was more of a us as a people more than an individual question. You know what I mean?
Uh, uh
Well, and I think part of that also, I think, well, I guess more on an individual standpoint, I think there's also a way where you can retaliate for somebody doing you wrong, but I also think there's a proper way to go about it. I mean, if it's something where somebody's done something, done some kind of wrong by you, and there's a legal way to go about dishing out those repercussions, because I'm a firm believer in, you know, I do believe in turning the other cheek. There's been plenty of times I've turned the other cheek when somebody's done me wrong, because,
Right.
you know, a lot like King, I'm a man of faith. So, you know, I feel like, okay, God said vengeance is his, I'm gonna let God deal with it. But I also believe there does come a time where you have to basically stand up for yourself. You have to let people know. Now, I may not do anything physically to you, but I'm gonna have to take some kind of action to let you know, like, look, okay, you testing my limit.
I
At
mean,
the end of the
in the Bible too, it's also eye for an eye. So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's all about interpretation. But I
yeah,
think we're getting off. Oh, go ahead, Gabe.
No,
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 no, no,
you
you
good.
good. I don't even think we're getting off, because I think it's good to touch on it for people who may believe it. But what I
Mhm.
will say with with us is culturally, man, we got to learn something other than like going back to episode 1. Go look it out. Shameless plug. Go check it out.
Yeah.
You like, and this is not any wrong with anybody. This is don't have nothing against people who play sports, bro. Because I was a 3-sport athlete and I love sports to this day, and I will die absolutely watching ESPN, all day if I can. But like there's other things we got to teach people besides basketball. Like, I mean, I love sports, but I end up doing something different, And so for me, it's like, bro, half of us don't know things about the law. We don't even know, sir. We don't know when laws get passed. Like you in Texas, you don't have you don't have a license to carry. You can have the castle doctrine protect you if somebody came into your house and you wanted to use a firearm to protect yourself and your family. Like, it's little small things, and I don't think we know enough of the law to actually be like, man, if you do this, and I'll do this, and I'll make sure you're in handcuffs. And then, like Rose said, that's the other way to go about it, the correct way, because did nobody say that I can't tell on you for what you did to me and you be punished for it. So, but we don't know enough of the law. We perish because our knowledge.
I think that's a good topic.
Knowledge is power, man, and
I think
part of
that's a
that,
good topic.
it is, because a lot of that is education, a lot of that is knowledge, and then then going back to what King was saying, I'm gonna tell on you. Another part of that is, to some degree, I ain't gonna even say to some degree, we have got to let go of this whole stop snitching thing, like that, and that's going down another rabbit hole. But I know part of the reason why a lot of things don't get handled is because we don't want to be seen as a snitch. We don't want to be seen as the punk that told. So now that's another discussion for another day.
Right.
But these are just different aspects that because all of this stuff is intertwined. And King made a great point. Education is huge, because there's a lot of our laws and there's a lot of things that we actually have the rights to and that actually work in our benefit. But because we're ignorant to them, because we don't know about them, we don't know how to use them.
Absolutely.
So and part of that is on us. I mean, part of that is getting involved with city council. Part of that is getting involved with the school board. Part of that is, keeping up with these local elections, because as much attention is put on the federal election, as far as the president of the United States of America goes, your state and local elections hit you more directly than the federal election does. So, on that aspect, we as a people, we have to take more of a bigger stake in getting more involved at the state and local levels, and then because at that point, the state and local levels is really where your schools improve. That's where the districts improve. That's where funding improves. And that's where you find out where these tax dollars are going, how these tax dollars are being spent, why this school over here is getting less funding than this school across, in this area of town. Why are property taxes being diverted to this particular school, in these proportions, as opposed to this one over here. That's where we learn about the demographics, the socioeconomics, and all that. So the more we educate ourselves, on these state and local levels, that's really where the true change is going to come. I mean, it's fine that we pay attention to the presidential election. That's cool. It affects us, but we get hit more directly at the state and local levels, and unfortunately, those are the ones that go overlooked the most. So, when it comes to, and have somebody that used to work in the news business used to go to city council meetings every week to see how things. There were times where things were going on in Amarillo that the average person didn't know about, because you may only have 3 or 4 people literally that go to these city council meetings, and they're passing these laws and resolutions right up under people's noses, and it's just like, bruh. But then when the news puts it out, all of a sudden they're mad at the media. Again, like the previous administration, y'all mad at the wrong people. But again, that's another rabbit hole. We ain't got time for that. We ain't gonna go down that road.
Yeah.
But I guess in speaking in keeping with the spirit of unity and diversity, man, there, and King, we all about the sports. And Drew, I know you like sports as well, even though you might not be into it as
I don't like no sports if it don't say Cowboys.
Oh God!
No. I was trying to dress it up, man. I was trying to dress it up. And then he go in there and he just cussed me out on this podcast, man.
I'm gonna do my Stephen A. How about them Cowboys?
Southern Steve.
Just don't hit me with that Shannon Sharp. Skip,
Hey,
skip,
skip.
skip.
Stop it, Skip.
Skip.
But and one thing that in the NFL is fascinating. And I personally love the NFL because I love football. I played football, and football it's a beautiful sport. It's a violent sport. It's a fun sport. But the thing that gets me with the NFL is vexing because it's a great product. It's a great league. 70% or approximately 70% of all NFL players are African American or Black. And the thing that really gets me is, with having all of these African American players, is the lack of diversity when it comes to NFL head coaching positions and general manager positions. I looked up some stuff today, man. There's 32 NFL teams. And out of these 32 NFL teams with majority Black rosters, every last one of them, we have 4 Black NFL GMs. You have Brad Holmes in Detroit with the Lions, Terry Fontenot, who just took the job in Atlanta with the Falcons, Chris Greer over in Miami with the Dolphins, and Andrew Berry of the Cleveland Browns. When it comes down to NFL head coaches, there's only 4 minority head coaches. Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, Brian Flores with the Dolphins, which the Dolphins, they're the only team in the NFL
minority owner.
With a minority owner, a minority GM, and a minority coach. Then we have Ron Rivera with the Washington football team. And then there's Robert Saleh, who he was the 49ers defensive coordinator. He just took the job as the Jets head coach.
Yeah.
So the thing with the NFL when it comes down to diversity as far as the head coaching positions go, it's really unfortunate because they set up the Rooney Rule. And basically, for those who don't know about the Rooney Rule, it was put in place, I believe, in the 80s or the 90s. I can't remember exactly when. But it was put in place by the Rooney family, who owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it basically says that all NFL teams have to interview at least one minority candidate for a coach or a GM position before you can even make the official hire. And now the spirit of the rule in itself is good because it's in that spirit of inclusion. We're trying to open doors to minorities. We're trying to get, minorities who qualify for these positions. We're trying to get these men and these women, we're trying to get them looks. We're trying to get them interviews. We're trying to get them to talk to people, or we're trying to get people to talk to them. So I should say.
Well,
but the problem, what's up?
So is it that they wanted the spirit of it? They wanted to get everyone who's qualified, or was it they're trying to meet a quota?
Well, that's part of the problem, because the spirit of the rule in itself is saying we're trying to give minority candidates more chances to have. We're trying to give minority candidates more chances to get these jobs.
Opportunity.
Right. I had to figure out a way to say that. So we're trying to get them more chances to get these positions and to get seen by key people, key executives. But the problem is NFL teams they've kind of wiggled their way around the rule and the fact that you have several teams every coaching cycle. The one thing that they'll do is one of the first 1 or 2 people that they'll hire is a minority coach that they have no intention of hiring. But I got to interview a black person or a minority candidate because I really want this guy over here, but I can't hire him because he's white. I have to follow this rule, and
I got to check the boxes.
So I got to check the boxes. Now I can hire this guy. So that's part of the problem with the Rooney Rule. And the NFL, they've done somewhat of a job in trying to address their diversity issues throughout the years. But I kind of just I say all that to say this. I want to get y'all's input on it because the thing about it is, well, before I even go there, the most recent example of this is Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. And this dude has interviewed for close to 12 head coaching jobs in the league. Now, this guy leads one of the best offenses in the NFL. Check this out. In 3 years since Eric Bieniemy took over the offensive coordinator position for the Chiefs, they've gone 38-10 in regular season games. They won a Super Bowl, and the Chiefs offense has finished first, third, and second in league standings overall, which are all better than the previous 5 years in which two other Chiefs offensive coordinators got head coaching jobs. Matt Nagy over in Chicago, and they're struggling. Chicago's not a very good team. And then you have Doug Peterson over in Philadelphia, and he just got the boot last week. And we saw
add that they're on their way to their third NFC championship.
Exactly. Yes.
At home.
Yes. On the way to the third AFC championship.
They've won the AFC 3 years in a row as far as regular season.
Yeah, and in a great position to win the AFC and the Super Bowl once again. Now, the thing with Eric Bieniemy is he's got some stuff in his past, but that stuff is almost 30 years ago. Now, what frustrates me with Eric Bieniemy's position is the fact that, you know, when a lot of time when reporters have asked teams why he's not getting jobs, they've asked NFL insiders why he's not getting jobs, he keep coming up with these excuses about his past. And another one that I hear all the time is that he hasn't called plays.
He's not a play caller,
Yeah, but you got plenty of coaches coaching across the league who didn't call plays. You got that guy up in New York with the Giants, Joe Judge. He was a wide receiver coach, and he made this meteoric jump from a wide receiver coach, a position coach, to a head coaching position.
And concerning the
go
Jets,
ahead, man, because I'm getting long-winded. Go ahead.
Concerning the Jets, Adam Gase wasn't a play caller.
Oh my God, Adam Gase was terrible, bro. The only reason why Adam Gase got that job was because he had that high-profile offense in 2013 with the Broncos, and Peyton Manning was the offensive coordinator and the coach for that. That's literally the only reason why Adam Gase got that job.
Exactly, man. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what about those two coaches that wasn't under the ones you just said from the Chiefs that was under Andy Reid? They weren't play callers as well, right?
Exactly. Well, they were offensive coordinators, and I want to say, don't give me the line. They were offensive coordinators, but I think Matt Nagy called play. He officially called plays. The thing with Eric Bieniemy is Eric Bieniemy calls plays. It's just that he calls plays in addition to Andy Reid. So it's not like he's not played. It's not like Andy Reid is calling all of their plays. And another thing with Eric Bieniemy is he's the one that comes up with the formation. He comes up with the schemes. He's the guy talking to Patrick Mahomes. He's the last one to talk to Patrick Mahomes. In that little microphone that they have in their helmet. He's the last one to speak to him in the huddle. So I mean, this dude is directly responsible for this offense that the Chiefs have that's been wreaking havoc across the NFL. And this dude, he can't get a job. Like, he cannot get a head coaching job. He just interviewed for the Texans head coaching job. But you know, the thing that frustrates me with that is the fact that it took Deshaun Watson telling the Texans, look, man, I'm not playing for y'all, because he had recommended Eric Bieniemy's name for this position. It took him basically telling the team, I'm not playing for y'all, for them to even speak to him. Deshaun Watson said they asked Deshaun Watson to basically be a consultant on the head coaching search. Hey, you're our quarterback. We want to get your input. He told them Eric Bieniemy, Robert Saleh, and a few other guys. They didn't even bother talking to the guys that he recommended. So now it's taking him.
Bad press. They also got bad press from Andre Johnson and D Hop. And I think because of who they are and the way it came, Andre Johnson was like, yeah, playing for the Texans, you're gonna waste your time.
Yep.
You know, and D Hop was kind of piggybacking on that same thing. Man, I think really at the end of the day, you know, a lot of other people can have these stains and it'd be all right, man. But as a black man, bro, we have to be so squeaky clean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, certain things we've talked about in the other previous things is like, man, choices, just understanding choices. Because sometimes when you have a disadvantage, and it's fine, you know, I'm the same guy. I'm like, you know what? I got certain disadvantages, but I'm going to carry myself a certain way so that whenever it's my time and I do my thing and you can't deny that, there's nothing else you can say. But you know what?
Exactly.
We're a complete fool if we don't hire him. But it's like, man, you know what? And I'll just keep it moving. And, you know, kudos to him for still having the resiliency to like keep doing what he's doing, man, because that thing can get frustrating, man, because we want those same opportunities too. And actually, you know, Andy Reid is not the only person running that whole organization. It's impossible. So, like, don't say he's not a play caller all of a sudden whenever it's time to get a job. But when we're not talking about him having a job, it's like, oh, Eric Bieniemy, Eric Bieniemy, Eric Bieniemy. I mean, it becomes like a whole ring. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that stuff only comes up when it's time to put him
Promote
in
this
that
man.
position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to say that I found this. I seen this.
Go ahead.
NFL passed a workplace diversity measure that will reward teams for being a pipeline for minority coaches and scouts. So it was kind of saying that, like, this new rule, they'll give you like these kind of like third round picks if you have a minority coach and a GM for like 2 or 3 years straight. You know, you'll get like incentives for it. And I'm like, and see, that's another thing about the Rooney Rule. It kind of like, and what I was saying with the MLK holiday thing, it like pushes you to do something you really don't want to do. And I'm a person like, yo, if it ain't genuine, don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Don't do it. Let me deal with it and figure out how I'll maneuver through it, or if I even want to continue in this situation. But if it ain't genuine, leave it be. Because then now you're doing it to only shut me up. And so how long will you do that before it becomes that same problem again? Because if you're only doing it to shut me up, it's only going to be temporary.
Or in this case, they're only doing it to get the incentive. It's
exactly. Because we know the owners only worry about one thing.
Right. Yeah. And see, for me, looking at it from that standpoint, I was telling somebody today, if I'm Eric Bieniemy, if the Texans offer me that job, I'm not sure I take it. Because you're not offering me this job because you want me. You're offering me this job because you don't want to lose your quarterback.
Yeah.
So
and to also prove a point.
Well, I would definitely take it, because once you get in there and show the league what you got and who you are, then you can't be denied.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. You can be denied. I feel like they're giving the job 1 year, and if he don't have a 10, like a 10-6, 11-5 type record, bro, he's not going to be able to have an 8-8 record on his first year, even though the Texans only won 4 games last year. And he's not going to be able to have an 8-8 season, and they'd be like, that was good enough. I promise you
that's a really good point, because you look at the Lions, they did that to Jim Caldwell. Jim Caldwell took that team 9-7, got them in the playoffs, and they fired him talking about 9-7 wasn't good enough. Brought in Matt Patricia, and like Matt Patricia's first few years in Detroit, they won 3 or 4 games. Matt Patricia got 3 or 4 years to try and turn that franchise around. Jim Caldwell got like 1 or 2. Jim Caldwell is out of the league right now. And that's another aspect of this whole deal is, minority coaches in the league, they do not have as long of a leash. They do not get the second and third chances that their counterparts get.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin has been the only one with that grace, but he keep having winning seasons. And, and because, of course, Rooney, with being the owners of the Steelers, they kind of probably taking the approach in a different manner. But, Mike Tomlin has been a winner for an extended period of time, and kudos to him, but yeah, I mean, that's a conversation for a rabbit hole, because we know what the owners are about. I mean, once they draft you, you just a ticking time bomb, and, they waiting for the next draft class, because all they're worried about is the continual reproduction of players so they can keep the money rolling in.
Keep that money rolling.
So y'all think that if he took the job with Houston and he takes them boys deep into the playoffs, like, he couldn't write his ticket?
He could. That's the only way.
That's the only way.
That's the only way. That's what we're saying. Like, bro, I mean, the NFL is not like, you can turn it around, bro, but like, dude, the Texans won 4 games last year, bro. And Deshaun Watson had the most passing yards, and they still only won 4 games.
Right.
So if the GM cannot get them some good players and like get that system turned around, he's already at a disadvantage. Coming into the door. Even being an offensive mastermind, because then you still got to bring in a good defensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to hire an OC to like still work things out, because he can't, being a head coach, he can't just only do the head coach and OC job, man. I mean, that's a bit much. So like, he would need a whole regime around him, you know what I'm saying, to build it up. So that's the disadvantage, I think, because they don't get time to sometimes rebuild these entities.
Yeah.
In the same fashion that other guys do.
And I agree. I think they would set it up to where he's more probable to fall on his face than be successful.
Yeah.
So I mean, I understand what you guys
Yeah.
are
So
saying
they
with
can
that.
say, "I told you so."
Yeah.
Man.
In
But you know what, man?
Go ahead.
Man, yeah, whatever.
What's up?
Keep it
Nah,
moving.
yeah,
What's up?
you
Oh, that's
good,
it.
man.
Okay.
Yeah, because this one of them subjects, man. We'll be on that, boy. Because it's a frustrating deal. As much as but you know what? There's also a part that makes me no, you know what? I'm not even. That's the rabbit
Oh,
hole.
y'all
We'll
killing
talk
me.
about it.
Y'all
No,
killing
We'll
me,
talk
man.
about we'll talk
Y'all
about that
killing me, man.
we'll talk about that on another
we can't make
podcast.
it. We can't make it a
Because
soap opera, Drew. Come
I
on.
understand. I understand. I
We'll talk
We're
understand.
about
near
that
the
on
end.
another
Near the end.
podcast because
We gotta end on a high note. Lift every voice and
You're
sing.
right. Lift it up. You right.
Lift every
yeah,
voice. Oh, okay,
yeah.
my
We'll
bad.
talk about that on another because man, some questions just kind of came to my mind about how black viewers of the NFL and minority viewers of the NFL can get their point across. But we'll go down that rabbit hole another time.
Yeah.
Where we at on time, man? 'Cause I think we might be at that hour threshold.
We may be nearing our hour, man.
I think we are, man.
We don't want to bore the people.
Yeah. So we gonna cut it off there because this has been a good one today. This has been a highly, highly passionate one today, but I love it. I love it. Fellas, y'all have anything y'all want to say? Any parting shots? Any parting words?
Oh yeah, I got parting words, man. First of all, all love to my Caucasian brothers and my Asian friends and anybody of any other nationality outside of African American that I know. It's just about shedding light from our viewpoint, but not to diminish anybody else's vantage point or viewpoint. And I like to say, man, I'm just still continuously grateful to be able to just present this option, because I'm known for being a musician. So speaking from this standpoint, even as a musician or a black man, I'm just grateful because I feel like, whenever the viewpoints can come from different viewpoints and vantage points, man, like we can hopefully invoke, some tough conversations to bring about change that are thought provoking. And so, man, I'm always glad to hear y'all's take on it. And no, guys, we don't rehearse this stuff before we get on here and record. This is like fresh, hot off the press, and that's what I can appreciate, man. So my ending on a high note is, man, I'm grateful for everybody, and as a black man, I'm grateful to see the changes that come about, and even the people who are white and other nationalities that like cheer black people on or that present opportunities for black people, because there are some people out here that are Caucasian or or Asian or Filipino, Latin, whatever, that can help black people, and there are black people that are helping whites and that are helping this. So man, the unity is just like the message that, as we've all said, and man, I'm just looking forward to hopefully getting to a point where it could be even more of it. That's it.
Absolutely.
Okay, and to piggyback on that, it's a new day. It's a new dawn.
Ooh, that's good.
Wounds it's time for wounds to be mended, to be healed, and move forward with unity. Definitely with all races, creed, everybody. It's time to move forward together as one, unity. You know what I mean? So that's my little 2 cents.
Dope.
Absolutely, man. And I'll close it out by saying, I piggyback on what both of y'all are saying. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for preferential treatment. And we're not disparaging our white brothers and sisters, our, Hispanic, Latino. We're not disparaging anybody by any means. All we're saying is equality and unity. That's all we want. At the end of the day,
uplifting everybody.
Everyone
getting uplifted.
Latinos, we want everybody to be on this train.
Everybody. Bro. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We want everybody to be on this thing, because at the end of the day, we're in this big world that God created. We're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. We all are products of Adam and Eve at the end of the day, when you really go back and get all biblical and anything. We ain't gonna go down that Anyway, equality and unity, that's what we want.
Yes,
So with all that being said, everybody, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Brothers Being Brothers podcast. Thank you to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving us this platform to be able to do this. And remember, like we always say, do your best and let God handle the rest. Be blessed.
Peace.
One.